We're joined by Tatishka Thomas. She is the District 5 National Vice President for the American Federation of Government Employees, or AFGE. This union represents some 820,000 federal and DC government workers nationwide. Thank you so much for being with us, Tatishka.
No, thank you for having me.
And Metropolitan Ministries Chief Program Officer Christine Long. Thank you so much, Christine.
My pleasure.
We also reached out to Tampa U.S. Representative Kathy Castor to join Florida Matters Live and Local for her take on the shutdown. She isn't available today, but we are hoping to speak to her soon, perhaps next week. Well, Tatishka, let's talk of numbers for a moment, if we could. There's some 31,000 federal employees in this area, the Tampa Bay region. Tell me about the kind of work they do, the jobs they have.
So, majority of federal employees that are actually in the area either work for the TSA, they work for the airports. You have employees that actually work for the National Cemetery Association, the Office of Information and Technology with the Veterans Health Administration. You have Social Security Administration. You also have Bureau of Prisons.
Wow, it's a lot.
Yes,
it's
several.
List.
It's several.
Yeah. Do you have a sense of how many are actually furloughed at this time? Because it's a bit hard to kind of wrap your head around some of those numbers, right?
Yes, it's really hard to wrap our head around the numbers that we actually have because there's so much turmoil in between the actual law and then what the administration is actually saying. So there's really, it's hard for us to gauge how many employees are actually being furloughed, how many employees are being asked to, well, I shouldn't use the word asked, how many employees are being forced to actually continue to work without actually receiving a paycheck.
What about your members, though? Do you have a survey so you can tell like how many of your members are sitting idle right now?
So we actually have nationally, we have a survey that's getting ready to go out later on this week to actually get the sense from our bargaining unit members and our members in whole to find out more information from them, to find out if they have been furloughed, if they've been forced to actually continue to work. We know at the airports, we know for a fact that they will be forced to stay at work without receiving a paycheck.
Right, because they're considered essential employees.
Correct.
So, but what are you hearing from your members? Like, are you getting some stories of folks saying, look, I can't work, I'm missing a paycheck, I'm in trouble?
We're going to, not as of today, but I expect that the longer the shutdown lasts, we will start receiving those calls probably within the next week. We already got some TSA workers that are actually getting ready to try to get a second job to actually supplement by not receiving a paycheck, but still being forced to actually go into work every single day.
Okay, so let me understand this. They're working a regular 9 to 5 or whatever the shift may be at TSA, but they're not getting paid. So then they've got to do another job. That sounds like it could be a bit of a safety issue.
Correct, it is.
You've got to be on your game if you're making sure the passengers going through are nothing untoward is happening.
Correct. That's completely, you just hit the nail on the head. That is a safety issue. Because if you have someone essentially working 14, 16, or probably 20 plus hours in a day, how do you really expect them to be able to really securely do their job or safely do their job when they're trying to screen passengers coming through the airport or our air traffic controllers and everything else? How do you expect them to really do their job safely if they're in fear of going to lose their job, in fear that they're going to probably be fired if they don't come into work, if they start calling in, or if they need to now get a second job because they're exhausted to be able to just make ends meet or try to make ends meet.
If you're just joining us on Florida Matters Live and Local, we're talking about the federal government shutdown. It's now into day 9. Lots of federal employees in the Tampa Bay region, some 31,000 or so. A little hard to gauge how many of those folks may be furloughed at this time, but as we've been hearing, some of them may be having to work without pay. If you've got some thoughts on this, we'd love to hear from you. You can call 813-755-6562. That's 813-755-6562. Send us an email to floridamatters@wusf.org. And what do you want lawmakers to know about how this shutdown is affecting you? Metropolitan Ministries Chief Program Officer Christine Long is with us too. So one thing we've been hearing about is that in situations like this, folks who are struggling will turn to food banks and other sources of help. So what are you seeing?
Yeah, we are definitely preparing. We have been serving the Tampa Bay community for over 50 years, been through lots of crises over those 50 years. But anytime there's people are put into a tough financial situation, they need some place to turn to. And food is always the first thing that impacts their budget. Mm-hmm. As soon as they don't get a paycheck, they can't go to the grocery store and buy food. So that's the very first thing we're stocking up on, getting prepared for, knowing that we're going to have some of those federal workers who've never had to come for this type of assistance before, coming to us and other local nonprofits for help.
Let me just wind back the clock a little bit if I could. And I'm not sure how long you've been with Metropolitan Ministries, but in 2018 there was I think a 35-day government shutdown. Do you recall kind of what was going on there, and does that experience offer some sort of a window of what we could be in for here?
Yeah, I was definitely here in 2018 and remember the difficulty that people had. We saw an increase in the number of people coming to our food pantries. Mm-hmm. And then it also lingers past that, where people haven't been able to pay their electric bills, they haven't been able to pay their rent. And so those impacts linger beyond the shutdown.
Yeah. Now, this is something you can actually help with, though, right? I was having a look at some of the assistance you can provide at Metropolitan Ministries. You can offer some financial assistance. So does that help out with, say, electricity or rent or things like that?
Yes, it does and can. And we're expecting potentially, if the shutdown hangs on longer, that people are going to need that type of support. And we're making as much of that available to our government workers on furlough as possible during this time period.
Okay, so we are sort of into week 2 now, but I mean, are you seeing a bump so far, or are you just preparing for it at this point?
No bumps yet. I don't think people have missed their paychecks yet, but potentially this week some of that's going to start happening. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Tatishka, I wanted to come back to that idea of workers kind of being out of work for a bit and then maybe worrying about whether they'll have a job still when they go back. I mean, what are you hearing there?
That's the biggest fear amongst federal employees. It's been a fear because of the constant back and forth threats that come from this particular administration when it comes down to laying off people, just mass firings, and everything else. It's a true fear that federal employees actually have, that they'll be told they're going to be furloughed, that they're not going to be able to actually work, and then they're also being told now, even though it's in law as of 2019, that they will actually receive back pay, that they may not receive back pay.
Is that legal, though?
No, it is not legal at all. The law was actually put into place underneath Trump's administration last time, where he actually signed it into law in 2019, that employees that are actually furloughed or if there's a government shutdown, that people will receive their back pay.
What kind of practical help can the union provide? I mean, do you have an emergency fund for furloughed workers?
We are actually trying to devise something up right now. We're actually partnering with a lot of actual nonprofit organizations that actually provide resources for federal employees and just resources, period, just for anybody who actually needs it. So we're here to help as much as we actually can in regards to that. But we're also here to actually continue the legal battles and the legal lawsuits that that this administration has actually caused us to fight constantly.
Are there any that are kind of specific to the Tampa Bay region, or are you sort of focused on what's going on up in D.C. when you think about some of these legal battles?
It's not just in D.C. It's everywhere. So our lawsuits actually cover all federal employees from D.C. to Florida, all the way down to Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. So we cover everybody.
I mean, what's your sense of kind of where we are on day 9 of this shutdown? Like, you optimistic about this being resolved anytime soon?
We're hopeful. We're trying to be as optimistic as possible. As we've seen within the recent days, Marjorie Taylor Greene actually has now taken a different stance in regards to funding the actual government and everything else, because now it's affecting her personally in her personal life when it comes down to her children. So, yeah, we're very hopeful that more Republicans will actually get back to work, since they're actually telling federal employees to work without pay, but for them to get back to work and actually come to the table and negotiate to get this actually resolved, because we need the government up and open and running.
Christine, so you mentioned the kind of liaison with some of the other nonprofits in the area, and you mentioned seeing folks through crises. We've had a fair share of crises in the Tampa Bay region, right? Like last year's hurricane season is a good reminder of that. How does that liaison work? Like who do you kind of reach out to, especially at a time like this when you're essentially in a bit of a holding pattern, waiting to see what happens?
Yeah, we really put our arms around our partners that are doing a similar work, and also our local government partners as well who can support us, and the donors in the community. This is our time to really stock up and be prepared. And so we contact the folks that have helped us in the past, help us through crises, are interested in supporting people in our community that are struggling, and ask them to step up now so that we can be ready when more folks come to us in need of help.
Mm-hmm. Are there some organizations specifically that you're kind of talking with now?
Well, the United Way has been doing a great job of bringing partners together, organizations together, and sharing information. So that's an excellent resource that we've definitely been leaning on.
Mm-hmm. Here's an email that just came in. The administration has already cut so many jobs. Do furloughed workers worry this is just a ploy to shrink the federal workforce? Tatishka, what about that?
That is the absolute truth. That is the fear amongst a lot of federal employees because of the whole point of being possibly privatized and everything else. If you continue to keep shrinking the federal government, you're taking away the services that we provide to the public.